using that fuel and that fire and that determination that I had as a kid, trying to, overcome all the obstacles that hit me as a young kid. And I used that fuel to win in business. And so I'm very proud of the fact that I didn't give up. I didn't quit like everybody else.
So I think for people listening to this, it's really important, that momentum, right? That fearlessness. And entrepreneurship is not always glamorous. We've all had times that are dark.
We keep it loud, feed the sound, pump the chemical. Ain't gonna shut us up.
Those are the top brands. You look at brands like Tiffany's and Hermes and Lamborghini. You never see a Lamborghini out on TV, right?
People are going to talk shit. People are going to try to put you down. People are going to try to, rain on your parade. But I just knew I did have a vision. First thing I ever did when I went into business, I wrote down 150 goals for a lifetime. And I put that list up on the wall and my office or my bedroom at the time. And I put it up on the wall and I looked at it every day. And I kept saying to myself that if I quit today, none of this shit is ever going to happen.
Hi guys, welcome to the $1 Million Branders podcast. Today we've got an amazing guest all the way from Los Angeles, California. We actually just did a podcast, me and him, about a week ago. It was so awesome, filled with synergy, the same mindfulness, the same thoughts. He's written a book called Wealth on the Beach. We have Daniel Alonzo. Daniel, welcome to the podcast. It's so great to see you today and have you on.
What's going on, Justine? Excited to be here, man. We killed it last week. You killed it last week.
Guys, for those of you who don't follow Daniel, go check out his social media, especially the Instagram. Love your mindset, Daniel. And just a bit of background about Daniel from those of you who don't know him, but you should. So he's a coach, he's an entrepreneur, media personality, podcaster, and author of Wealth on the Beach. Just finished reading it, Daniel. Such a great book, 11 Universal Laws to Building Financial Freedom. And I'm not going to spoil your story because I want you to speak about it yourself. Tell us a little bit about your humble beginnings.
I promise you that my story is not as good as it sounds. It wasn't as pretty as it sounds. There's a lot of rejection, a lot of work that goes into creating anything. I mean, anybody that's done anything, they know what I'm talking about. But I think at a young age, I mean, I was, I had a couple of divorced parents, and my mom was a single mom raising me and my brother, and she ended up getting remarried. I have an amazing stepfather. My biological dad, in those early years was a little bit rougher. Today we have a great relationship, but I think that I was like one of those bad boys. I was a bad kid. I got in a lot of trouble. I was always going to see the principal. And, probably smoking the wrong things and drinking the wrong things and hanging out with the wrong people. And I just, but there was something inside of me that I always wanted to be somebody. I always wanted to make a difference. I mean, I think that people that really want to make a difference and do something great, there's something inside of them. Absolutely. that there's a goodness inside of them. So even though I was a bad kid, I always knew the line, right? I never went to jail or anything like that. I never, hurt anybody, although I did get in my share of fights, but they were always because I was defending myself. I was one of those kids where, there was some other bully kids that they wanted to fight me. My grandfather was a boxer. My father was a boxer. So, after school, they would teach me how to fight. And so
no one mess with you right now.
Well, yeah. I mean, when I was younger, I haven't gotten a fight in probably, 28 years or something like that, maybe even 30 years now. But I was always one of those people that I just would not back down from a fight. And I owe that thinking to the rest of my life, because any challenge that has come my way, I've always been able to overcome those challenges based on my mental toughness, based on my willingness to to fight through anything that I needed to fight through. So that was kind of a, I mean, I was going to college. I never was a good student. So I, was never the smartest kid. I think maybe I was, I always had a good work ethic, but I wasn't the maybe I was never going to be a professional baseball player, but I think I probably would have went higher level. Hurt my knee in college, got out of college. Buddy of mine called me up, and he was one of my best friends growing up. And he's like, "Hey man, we're going to go get licensed in financial services. We got our insurance licenses, or our investment licenses, annuity licenses, brokers licenses, all this stuff." And next thing you know, I start using that fuel and that fire and that determination that I had as a kid, trying to, overcome all the obstacles that hit me as a young kid. And I used that fuel to win in business. And so I'm very proud of the fact that I didn't give up. I didn't quit like everybody else. So many people quit on me in the early days. So, I mean, people still quit on me today. And I'm so thankful that I never gave up, and I just kept pushing forward.
You speak about being your own competition, and all these things in your life have made you a better entrepreneur, better person. There's so many entrepreneurs coming into the market now that think it's easy to just get ahead and take the shortcuts. What advice could you give them?
Well, I mean, first of all, you have to master your craft. You got to become a living, breathing example of what you do. So I think that the challenge is nobody wants to put in the effort, the upfront effort, because when you're an entrepreneur, you don't necessarily get paid. I'm teaching my son right now. My son's 22. He's going into business with me right now. And that's the one thing that I keep telling him, because, he grew up pretty privileged. I mean, his life has never been hard. I mean, he's always had an easy life when it comes to money and just having a nicer lifestyle probably than 95 or 8% of most kids. And I think that, I just keep telling them that don't allow the setbacks, don't allow the negative people, don't allow the rejection to stop you. But the other thing you got to do is you got to really become a living, breathing master of what you do. You need to learn how to close. You need to learn how to build relationships. You need to learn leadership skills. You need to learn money skills. You need to understand your products inside and out. And the challenge is, when you're doing all that stuff, you're not making any money. Mm-hmm. But what's the difference of some kid that's going to college right now, right? The kid goes to college for 4 years, 6 years, 8 years, and they get out and they have to start from zero. Matter of fact, they start with -0 because most of them are in debt when they get out of college. So somebody like me, I remember telling myself early on, I said, if I don't make any money in the next 4 years, like, I literally was willing to work for free for my first 4 years, because I knew that I'd be in the same boat as all my friends if I made no money. And I figured after 4 years, I would know what I was doing. I would have been a master of my craft. And ultimately, I'd be able to turn that into money. And of course, my reality was different. I made money from day one. I always made money. Believe it or not, I never struggled financially in this business. I always made money. I always was able to pay my bills. I never had to live in my car or anything like that. I don't have a great story when it comes to, like, oh my God, the whole, my life fell apart and then I turned, none of that. It was just every day I got up and I just focused on putting one foot in front of the other and doing the right things, the right behaviors, treating people good, caring about people, loving people, making good choices, staying organized, being disciplined. Those were my habits, and that made all the difference.
And it kind of alludes to Kobe Bryant, right? Because he was always the first one at the game. They didn't want him even in the basketball team. So you look at people like that, you've got that same mentality, that tenacity, that drive to keep showing people what's possible and showing yourself what's possible, because every level is going to demand a different level of you. What you did was you showed consistency, and it's like going to the gym, right? You don't build muscle quickly. It takes time. And I think that's such testament to what you've built in terms of your legacy and what you're doing in your business and your life. So thank you for showing people what's possible. But hey guys, so if you are enjoying this episode, if you have gotten value from this episode and it has changed your life by teaching you things, I'm going to ask you a huge favor. If you would subscribe, like, follow, and share with people so we can bring more incredible guests to the $1 Million Branders podcast to serve you better, so you can make more money in your business, in your life, and accelerate your growth into becoming the $1 Million brand that I know is possible for you. Thank you, and my greatest appreciation to you. You speak about vision and that wealth is just a higher purpose when, you know, money will just come. How important is vision in a business? You know, the vision that you have for yourself, because I know you let a lot of friends go. You lost your best friend. I read that in your book. And how important is vision and knowing what you're actually capable of, because some people don't see themselves how they meant to be. You see yourself the brand you could be, the person you could be, the legacy you could be. And then, as you said, one foot in front of the other, striving towards that.
Yeah, I mean, I had a lot of friends that they made fun of me, you know, and it's funny because my son says the same thing. Like, he's going through the same shit that I went through at 21. And I told him, I said, just get used to it. People are going to talk shit. You know, people are going to try to put you down. People are going to try to, you know, rain on your parade. But I just knew I did have a vision. First thing I ever did when I went into business, I wrote down 150 goals for a lifetime. And so I put that list up on the wall and my office or my bedroom at the time. And I put it up on the wall and I looked at it every day. And I kept saying to myself that if I quit today, none of this shit is ever going to happen. So why would you quit, Daniel? This is the kind of the inter dialogue that I would have for myself. I say, dude, you can't give up, man. You're never going to live on the, you know, in that big house on the hill. You're never going to have the fast cars. You're never going to be able to take the incredible vacation. I mean, shoot, I just got back from Sardinia and Slovakia, had an amazing trip. A couple months before that, I was in Australia. I was in Philippines. I'm actually taking a month-long trip next month to Vietnam, Japan, and Bali. And none of that shit was going to happen if I had a regular 9-to-5 job where somebody's got their thumb on me. Somebody tells me when I can pee. Somebody tells me when I can go to the bathroom, you know, when I can take vacation. And I never wanted that life. And so that's why I had a vision. So all these things I'm talking about, I knew this was going to happen eventually. I just knew that I had to stay in the game long enough to build some wealth, then take that money, grow it, compound it, buy properties, real estate, stocks, mutual funds, you know, trade options, all the stuff that I've been able to do. And ultimately, I knew that, you know, my dreams were going to come true. And that's exactly what happened. And
there was also a fearlessness in you, which I think is so profound, how you just said, what's the worst that can happen? I can go bankrupt and then I'll start again. I'll do it again. So I think for people listening to this, it's really important, that momentum, right? That fearlessness. And entrepreneurship is not always glamorous. We've all had times that are dark. We've all had great times too. I think it's personally worth it. But talking about wealth, I want to speak about investment strategies and decisions, because I think everyone is we're living in an instant gratification age. A lot of people think that the cars, the renting a great property is important. I love how you are into the long game, because I think that's very important and not this instant gratification. So how do you approach investment decisions in both your business and even with people? Because I think that's really important too. And I think ultimately that builds a business. And I know you speak a lot about recruitment.
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, as far as my business goes, I've never had to really invest a lot of money into my business. Matter of fact, I've never advertised in my business in all the years that I've been in business. It was always through word of mouth, and it was always through the recruitment. So my strategy was always, I'm going to recruit and then I'm going to train. I'm going to recruit and then I'm going to train. And training those people in their warm markets is why I never had to be, I never had to cold call, never had to go door to door, never had to spend a lot of money on advertising. So number one, my business, as far as an actual strategy for a business, to me was genius, because I didn't have to give up a lot of money. So most of the, well, just about everything that I made was profit for me. And so because I put myself in a situation where I was building a business through expansion. So if I recruit this guy and he goes out and recruits 10 people and builds an incredible business, well, that's another location. We just open up another shop. He goes and runs his own thing. Remember, people will work harder for themselves than they'll ever work for you. And so we started to build that. We started to build that momentum. Remember, momentum makes you look better than you really are, but lack of momentum makes you look worse than you really are. And so we started to build up momentum. We started to create a lot of, synergy and excitement. We were doing big events. We were doing retreats. We were doing conventions. And through that, we were able to expand. And by the way, none of this was affected my personal income. So when we open up another office, it's that guy, that family, that lady that's actually opening up their own location. They take care of all the expenses. None of that expense comes from me. So, and I still am able to, so like, for example, we actually have 57 locations now. And, in 10 years, we'll have 570 locations. So that's, the goal is just to continue to expand, continue to grow, but it doesn't take away from my bottom line. So as my income grows, my expenses actually went lower through the years. And so anyways, from a business standpoint, no investment there. From a personal standpoint, basically what I did was every time I would make money, I would just continue to take that money and just put it in a savings account, put it in a savings account, put it in a savings account. And then what I did was maybe I'd put together 25,000 or 50,000 or something like that. And then in the savings account, and then I would take that money and then I would distribute it correctly. So I'd make sure all my tax deferred accounts were all, filled up and maxed out. My SEP IRAs, my Roth IRAs, my traditional IRAs, my, whatever I was able to put. I mean, some things I can't, I make too much money now to put into some of these programs, but all the tax deferred and tax deductible programs that I could max out, I did that. And I just started accumulating like crazy. I bought some stocks, I bought some mutual funds, I bought some bonds, and then bought some property, bought commercial property, bought investment homes. I bought my own location as well. And we just started compounding those efforts. And over time, that turned into millions and millions of dollars. And then, of course, my business is my best investment because I could sell my business. It's sellable. So, if I was, sick, or if I, completely just wanted to be out of the game 100%, then I would just sell my company. And then I would live the rest of my life on the proceeds of that income.
Beach. Wealth on the beach. You'll live.
That's it. I would be on the beach somewhere, and that's what I plan.
It's so great, and well done for all your success. In your book, how you spoke about duplicating you, because there are a lot of entrepreneurs. I mean, myself, right? When I started, total recovering perfectionist. You can call it OCD, whatever you want to call it. Releasing control, I think, in a business is a huge thing, especially when it comes to building wealth. I loved how you said, people will work harder for themselves than for you. In my agency, I always tell my whole team, every single job that comes in is going to benefit you, because ultimately it will. I make sure they have a certain level of ownership. Can you walk us through your analogy of duplicating yourself? Because that was so interesting. I think that's such a great tip for business owners, doesn't matter what industry they're in.
Yeah, I mean, it just really comes down to that original premise of freedom, choices, and options. So at a young age, I don't know why I thought about it. Maybe I just, went to McDonald's a lot when I was a kid, which I'm sure I did go to McDonald's a lot when I was a kid. It was before we knew McDonald's, is poison. But no, seriously, I mean, I saw their duplication, and I saw that you could open up a McDonald's anywhere, and you could just, and the French fries taste the same in China as they do in the United States. And so I just figured I'm going to get up early and stay up late, and I'm going to put together manuals. I'm going to put together books. I'm going to put together videos. I'm going to put together audio. I mean, originally they were audio cassettes that I would duplicate my first night presentation, my second night presentation, my new recruit process. So I was kind of thinking about my business as just a duplicatable process. And the reason why I wanted to do that, because again, we recruit a lot of people. I mean, our organization at one point, we were recruiting 300-400 people every single month. And so my focus was to make sure that no one, Justine, could come to me and say, hey, you scammed me. You didn't teach me what to do. You didn't show me, like, you took my money, you recruited me,
Yes.
you got me licensed, and you took my money, but you didn't give me anything for it. And by the way, which in our industry, it happens all the time, right? Somebody gets recruited and, they kind of just leave them out in nowhere land.
Yes.
And this person 3 months later, they're like, shit, I'm not making any money. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, So for me, I wanted to take every excuse away from everybody. Like right now, I have a Wealth on the Beach Club. It's my coaching program. I have 250 videos on every subject imaginable, because I do a 1-hour training every single week. I've been doing that for 5 years. And so I have hundreds and hundreds of videos that, I'm teaching people recruiting.
Dominated with those AI automatic messages and all the sales messages, and no one's actually buying your service or your product. They're actually buying you and solutions. They're buying solutions to their problems, transformations that change their lives, connections that feel real, experiences they remember, impact they see, influence they trust, knowledge that empowers, and results that speak for themselves. So it's about solving, I think, what you're doing through your brand. And I want people to really look at it, because you are solving things, you're creating value. And that's why you've got a ton of followers on Instagram, but I bet you started with 0, just like everyone else.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah. And it's like anything else, right? I mean, I learned this from that marketing guy back 5 years ago, because honestly, I did social media wrong for a lot of years, and I'm probably still not totally doing it right, but I did it so wrong for so many years. You would laugh. I think I've been on Facebook and Instagram, or, at least Facebook, since 2007, maybe, or something like that. I mean, I've been on social media for so long. It's unbelievable. I've never really put any money into it. So I don't, maybe I would have grown bigger if I would have done more advertising or more ad spend or whatever. But that was never I wanted to make sure it was organic. I wanted to make sure that I was just, it was just a platform for me to share my expertise, so that I have a nice business card for people to look at, where people can look at me and they go, this guy's legit. He's been, he's got 8,500 posts on my Instagram, 8,500 posts. If you could imagine, It's because I'm just consistent. I just do it every day. Now, granted, now I do have people making my videos and things like that, but I never did that early on. And so that was a mistake. And all I would do is I would just post quotes, and I would just post other people's stuff. And I would never. And so this marketing guy, he says, turn on the camera, look at that little black dot, and start speaking. Talk, tell your story, engage with people, have a conversation, be vulnerable, which I'm still not 100% vulnerable, but I'm getting better and better. I'm becoming more and more vulnerable.
And that's a huge thing to overcome. I mean, I'm going through that myself. And then the other thing is just posting continuously. It's almost like your life tenacity and the longevity has spilled into social media, because it is hard to be consistent. Congratulations for that. And I believe building a brand is about knowing your worth. And when you talk about, Wealth on the Beach and your book, I really want your perspective on this. How important is branding in business, and what is $1 million brand to you?
Well, I mean, branding to me in this world that we live in right now, whether you like it or not, it is an absolute game changer. Because when people can look at your brand, it's like when you see the little apple, right? When people see this lion behind me now, they know that it's Daniel Alonzo. They see the yellow lion, they know instantly it's Daniel Alonzo. But that's because I have thousands of posts, and I have, hundreds and hundreds of YouTube videos now. So people start to recognize things, and then they pop out. That little apple, you see it, it's instant credibility. It's instant. I know what that is. It makes sense. So what $1 million brand means to me is something that is highly recognizable, so that I feel trust in that brand. Because remember, people buy from you because they like you and trust you. They don't buy from you because your website is unbelievable. They buy. Now, the website helps because the website, gives, that trust that you know what you're doing, trust that you've actually, put a little bit of money into your business, that you care about things, that you're professional. Of course, absolutely. But the most important thing is that when people see your content and they see your brand and they hear you talk and they hear you explain your story and they hear you excited about what you're doing, and they understand that I asked my son the other day, he heard me on a call with the client a couple of weeks ago, and he was right next to me, and I'm with the client, and I said, "What did you learn from that?" And he said, with like not even a blinking, he said, "You know your shit." And when somebody knows that they're going to buy from you. They want to buy from you because most people are full of shit. And the difference and by the way, the difference of my brand versus 99% of other coaches and trainers and authors and speakers and all these people like that, the difference of me is I actually built a business. Yeah. I don't make very much money selling books, by the way. I don't make much money, in my coaching program, by the way. That's not my bread and butter. That's not where I've spent the last 28 years building my company. I built an actual financial services company that does $40-50 million of revenue every single year. We have, I don't know, $10 billion in assets. No, excuse me, in life insurance in force. We have, I don't know, almost $500 million in assets under management right now. We have hundreds and hundreds of investment licensed agents. We have, over 1,500 licensed insurance representatives. They're all independent contractors. They all work on their own. I don't have any overhead on any of that business. So think about, from a business standpoint, how smart is that? Think about it. So somebody says, "All right, Daniel, how much money you make?" Okay. So I tell them how much money I make, and I go, keep just about most of that. That is freedom, choices, and options. Okay. That's actually knowing what you're doing, understanding taxes, understanding financial organization, making sure that you're not buying stupid shit, investing properly into your business. In the early years, I bought a building. In the early years, I bought nice chairs and big screen TVs and big, projection systems and all the different things to try to, I put so much effort and money into making sure that when somebody walked into my location, the place that I originally built the business, when they walked in, it was the most amazing, example of winning, of success, of champions. I had all my $100,000 earners up, all their pictures all on the top of the, on the walls. And, I had timelines of all through the years, what we did, when we did it, how we did it. It was like almost like a museum of success. And people walked in, and that's why I was able to build a brand that has lasted, and stood the test of time.
And that is so important, because you're basically speaking about providing an experience. And I think a great brand, any brand, doesn't matter what it is, it will attract people to you. It's not about shouting it from the rooftops. Those are the top brands. You look at brands like Tiffany's and Hermes and Lamborghini. You never see a Lamborghini out on TV, right? So that is absolutely commendable. And thank you so much. Well, Daniel, it was such an honor to have you on the podcast. I can't wait to see what you do next. How do people find you? Where do they find your book? I just read it. It was amazing.
So number one, you can get my book on Amazon. It's called Wealth on the Beach, Daniel Alonzo. That's Z-O at the end. And then Instagram at Daniel Alonzo. And those are kind of the two main, things that I want people to know about, because I think once you got the book, you got the fundamentals, man. It's not a hard book to read, but man, it's just packed with fundamentals, really simple ideas that almost like reminders that you got to make sure that you continually do as a entrepreneur. And that's really who I'm talking to. And of course, I have a YouTube channel. Check out Daniel Alonzo YouTube channel. And my website is wealthonthebeach.com. And so you could check that out as well.
Amazing. And thank you so much for all the light that you're bringing to the world.